We're going to dive into the greatest controversy to ever exist, and that is, are Catholics allowed to do whatever they want whenever they want it? Now, you think that's a funny title or a funny starter, but that's not really that much of an exaggeration. And in fact, this is going to be my first Reacts video to, and this one is going to be Michael Knowles. I make a habit of listening to as many podcasters as I can, and sometimes I vary between different ones. Usually, if I don't have a lot of time, I can get a condensed version from either Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Glenn Beck, and an assortment of other smaller name people. Like I love the chicks on the right, and even more like Tanashi Peters and so on. There's a lot of people out there that I listen to trying to get the condensed version of it. But my first introduction into this topic was Michael Knowles, and it was so over the top, I had to do a Reacts video to it. And even though Ben Shapiro came out with a much milder version of it, and even some of the stuff that was included in this video, which will probably be a little bit longer one today, points to Israel being a problem or having an issue, I'm going to say I completely disagree with most people's take on this. Completely disagree with most people's take on this. And having grown up overseas, I think this kind of gives me a different perspective on it than most people. Now, before we get into it, before we get further along, welcome to the ripple effect. Now, what we're doing here is we're trying to show you the impact behind all the headlines and the stories as they happen, so you can understand how it affects your life and your family, because that's really where the impact hits. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is going to be kind of clunky, and I apologize for it because I'm still learning how to use all these different softwares. So let's go ahead and see how this goes. Here we go. And I'm going to stop him along the way, and I'm going to kind of explain what is happening here so that we can know
that caused truly a global uproar is that the government of Israel prohibited.
So let's pause. Global uproar. I had no idea. Most of my family had no idea. Most people that I knew had no idea that this had happened. So a huge global uproar.
Top bishop in Jerusalem, Cardinal Pizzaballa, he's the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, from entering the Church of the Holy Sepulchre on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is the day when Christ enters as a king into Jerusalem. It kicks off the beginning of Holy Week, which will end with the crucifixion on Good Friday, followed by Holy Saturday, and obviously followed by the resurrection on Easter Sunday.
Now, if you don't understand 100%, oh, what happened here? Oh, click to exit full screen. Okay, I should have left it small. Now, if you don't understand what's happening here, the Catholics are extremely, extremely tied up with places and artifacts and everything that's like so, because it's so human based, it's very, very, very difficult for them to separate that from the spiritual. And so even though most Christians, I think, that are non-Catholic would find it interesting to see these places, they don't quite go as crazy as the Catholics on this one. So we'll continue.
Major outcry that this was a Christian persecution by the Israeli government. Then you had ardently, I won't even just say regular pro-Israel people, but ardently, zealously, perhaps unreasonably pro-Israel people who were attacking the cardinal. It was a whole mess. We will get to exactly what happened, because
if people are attacking the cardinal, you might want to ask yourself, why are they attacking the cardinal? Like, what would bring that up? And also, what does he mean by overly defensive of Israel? Like, what do you define as overly defensive of Israel? Now, there's a big difference between Catholics and Christians, and that Christians do believe that Israel has a special place in the world because that's what God has said. Catholics don't believe that. In fact, if you look back during the Crusades, they were very reluctant to let Jews in the, quote, Holy Lands back then. So they have a history of having issues with the Jews.
The funny story about this is everyone involved was much more reasonable than any of the cheerleaders or critics online were.
And that's actually true. He says this and it's very, very true. The people on the ground were actually very, very nice to each other.
We're in Holy Week right now. This is the Monday of Holy Week. Yesterday was Palm Sunday. It's a 3-hour liturgy in the traditional liturgy. It's a really big deal. And Cardinal Pizzaballa, who was a man who being considered for Pope at the last conclave, Cardinal Pizzaballa, who's
of course, the funniest thing, the funniest part of this whole thing is the guy's name, Pizzaballa, Pizzaballa.
Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. He has one of the most difficult jobs in the world. He went to hold a private mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is where Jesus was entombed. And he didn't bring a ton of people with him.
Listen to how this is phrased and framed. I want you to pay attention because I'm going to explain everything behind it shortly.
Not a major public event, but he was going there with a small number of people to say a private mass to continue the very long-standing tradition of a mass on Palm Sunday. This was not. He recognized that sometimes there are security precautions, be they for public health, be they because of times of war. But this was a small number of people.
Okay, so I guess this is the perfect time to interject this. He says he recognizes. Oh, sorry, Michael. I don't want to do that. You like that? Okay. He recognizes that there are times when there's special security concerns, right? And he says this, and he understands that. And he just, except the fact that he apparently did not understand that because the whole entire Temple Mount and everything associated with it was closed down. There's not a single person there at this time because it was been closed, and it has been closed for a long time. Ever since this whole thing started, where Iran has been trying to hit this place. They had a part of a missile hit within 30 feet or 30 yards of this actual, sepulcher that they're talking about. Let's continue.
The Israeli police told him no, and they turned the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem away from Jesus' tomb on the first day of Holy Week. So right off the bat, it should be said, I totally understand the Israeli government's security concerns. I get it. I appreciate it. I also recognize that the Israeli government closed down all the holy sites. So it wasn't.
Okay, so he's acknowledging that the Israelis closed down. And just so you understand what he means by all the holy sites, he means they closed down the mosque so that the Muslims couldn't go. They closed down the Western Wall, which is where the Jews go. And they closed down this one, which was where the Catholics go and the Christians go. So, yes, right. They're being fair to everyone. They're saying we don't want anyone getting hurt.
Particularly anti-Christian discrimination. They closed down other holy sites too. I understand and acknowledge all of that. That government has no right whatsoever to ban the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, ever.
Okay, I want you to rehear that.
That government has no right whatsoever to ban the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, ever, on any occasion, much less Palm Sunday.
Okay. Okay, so here's Michael Knowles, and this is the reason why I'm pointing this out, because here's the problem that we're running into. We're running into these Catholics that are like trad Catholics, and they're very opposed to, even if it's not openly in some cases, Michael Knowles tries to hide it behind some things. But this is my point. They try to hide it and they say, we shouldn't have anything to do with protecting Israel. Israel is its own nation. It's got to do everything on its own. It should be doing everything on its own. We have no involvement. It's its own country. We can just leave it go and it be what it is. So then why does this independent country that is its own country, that should be abandoned to its own devices, it doesn't have the right to tell someone in its country what they can and cannot do? Michael Knowles, you just shot yourself in the foot when it comes to the immigration argument in the United States. Because if an outside source gets to force a country on something so trivial as this, and an entity that's not even a really another country. I mean, the Vatican, I guess, is sort of a country, but a religious organization gets to force it, then why would keep the Muslims from forcing their stuff on America? Do you not see how this can play both ways? But how dare you tell a country they have no right to tell them no?
This was an egregious fumble by the Israeli government.
Egregious fumble by the Israeli government. I want to stop him there. Do you know who made this decision? This has all been coming out. And again, unless there's someone that comes out and completely changes the narrative and the story that's been going on, the story is that the local police officer on duty did not know he was coming, did not know the cardinal was coming. And so when the cardinal gets there, he has no authorization to let the cardinal in with the 4 people because, again, there is a rule that no one, not a single person, is allowed to go in these areas where there's no bunker to protect themselves from a missile strike and a missile attack. And I'm going to get into the follow-up behind there. I'm actually going to write this down because I just had a thought hitting me right now. It is this. That's the law. They made it so that you cannot do this right now because it is unsafe. And if you listen to people talking about how unsafe it is, the passageways would not even let an ambulance in. Meaning if it did strike, if there was a missile drone hit, whatever, they would have no way of rescuing them and helping them.
And everybody agreed with that. Everybody agreed. This was not just people who don't like Israel.
He found a few people to say that they agree, and now everyone does.
This was not just Catholics. This was not Mike Huckabee, who is as pro-Israel as any human being has ever been, including Theodore Herzl. Okay, Mike Huckabee loves Israel, not Catholic, is a Southern Baptist. He issues this statement. He's obviously the U.S. ambassador to Israel.
Now, this is the part I think is interesting. He's going to quote some people as saying this was an egregious mistake. Israel is in a fight for its life right now against Iran. America has some stake in what's going on. It's economic, right? Israel has every stake involved right now. And they already know that the entire culture of America right now, because of the Groypers, because of the Candy Catholics, right, from Candace Owens, and the Trad Catholics that are even like Michael Knowles that are very, very, very soft on everything, they're so opposed to Israel that they'll take any chance that they get to tear it down and tear down our relationship and call what we're doing in Iran useless and a waste of time. And even Megyn Kelly has gotten out and just gotten absolutely asinine when it comes to this whole thing, basically defending Iran in this whole situation. Of course, the people that want Israel to help us win this war and to win this war and are on Israel's side are going to make it political. As in a polite way of saying, we're sorry, this was a political mistake. In a sense, maybe it was a political mistake, but no more than if a Jew wanted to go to the Jew site or a Muslim wanted to go to the Muslim site and they were turned back. We're making this to be so huge when it doesn't need to be. And again, he says here that they were shut down so that no one could go do it. Now, let me skip through here a little bit.
The most pro-Israel person in the United States Senate, self-defined that way. My friend, Senator Ted Cruz, also not Catholic, he crashed meters from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, that's true, to protect work.
And then here Benjamin Netanyahu had to come out and explain what exactly is going on. And here's where I'm at. And I'm not going to go down anymore because I think we've spent enough time on Michael Knowles. And here's what I'm going to say just to finish this up for everyone so you guys understand where this is at. And this is why I did a whole reacts video on this, because here's what I wrote down. And this is my point. They have shut these places down because they know if Iran can strike these zones, that's what they are going to do, because they want to stir up, they want to foment all kinds of troubles in the religious area. They want to make it hard and difficult for Israel. They want to rip apart the relationship of Israel and everyone else. Now, okay, 2 mistakes were done here. And I wrote down what if. What if they had been allowed to go in there? They'd been allowed to go in there. I'm going to write down one more thing, guys. What if they'd been allowed to go in there and a missile or drone strike had hit? You don't think Israel would have been raked over the coals for allowing them to go in there when you knew there was a danger? When you knew there was a danger, when you were keeping all the other holy sites excluded? Why would you let them go in there? Why would you let them go in there? You know that's what would have happened. So here they are, darned if they do and darned if they don't. And you have the audacity to go down there and tell Israel you don't have the right to tell this person he can't go in there. That's how asinine and stupid this view is. And in fact, this is the worst part of this whole thing is that all these other people are coming out and being political about it. And no, you're wrong. They should never have even ever apologized for this and said, no, we have them all closed down for everyone's safety. Get over it. Get over it. Don't admit a mistake. That's not a mistake. You're trying to protect people. You have a rule. You put the rule in place for a reason. Move on. Live on with it. They're not coming. This is not even as bad as COVID, where they went into people's churches and told them they had to shut down the churches. They're saying, hey, these particular locations, which are of high danger, don't go into these ones. Worship in your own church and do your own thing in your own way. But these special sites we're not doing with. Now, what else I wrote down was this. Target. target? Because of the controversy, which really is a controversy, they've now said that they're going to let them in for Easter Sunday. So here Iran already wants to destroy them, wants to cause a wedge, and now they're being forced to allow people to go into this place, the Holy Sepulchre, on Easter Sunday. If you don't think that's a target for Iran, I don't know what you're thinking. And not only have you just allowed people back in, but you've made it a target for Iran. You've made it a deal so Iran can see this is going on. If something doesn't happen at this point there, I'll be surprised. If a cell is not activated and it doesn't get attacked, I'll be surprised. And I'm hoping that I'll be surprised. I'm really hoping I'll be surprised because I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But making this whole thing was so foolish. And had the bishop just gone to the government and said, hey guys, can we please get in there? I guarantee you they'd have said it was fine. But now he's made a big deal out of it. Everyone, global controversy is talking about it. Now there's no way for Iran not to see that this is happening and not to know that this is happening. How does this impact our lives? Listen to the stories that you're hearing. What is going on with people in the Christian sphere? What is going on with people in the conservative sphere? Have ears to hear and understanding to understand what you're looking at. Be able to discern when someone is talking nonsense and when they're not. And if you think if I'm talking nonsense, then move on. Fine. But I hope I'm waking up your eyes to what is happening around us. And he's the mildest. He's the mildest of these trad Catholics. We have two dangers happening right now in the conservative movement. We have the MAGA sphere being pulled apart by all kinds of nutcases. And we have all of these people that are trad Catholics or groypers or of that strain that are creeping in, and you need to know and you need to be ready because it will impact your life. And it will, people like Nick Fuentes are already telling people, don't vote in the election. That's how it's going to affect your life if this stuff continues. This has to be dealt with. This has to be addressed. This has to be pointed out for the nonsense that it is. And Michael Knowles was so certain of his opinion on this one that he said if you have a differing opinion, you basically don't have a right to say anything because you're just so pathetic and stupid. When in all reality, his opinions on this one were the pathetic and stupid ones. So I'm sure there's plenty of people that are going to disagree with me, but that's fine. But this is why we're here. I started this channel as a reaction to the ever-growing concern of Catholics in our conservative movement. Not because 99.9% of them are bad, no. But because there is a growing concerned movement right now happening from the Groypers and from other groups like that, like Candace Owens and so on, that are using it to put a wedge in the society, into the conservative movement, and tear it apart. And we can't have that. Thank you so much for watching. This was kind of clunky, I know, because still learning all this stuff. I had to watch like several tutorial videos on how to do this. Keep supporting, and we'll make better stuff as we go along. Thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe.